At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Philadelphia Phillies. Tuesday Night Baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi. Well, Ray Ramirez is a nice guy, but Terry Collins has spent all too much time the last couple of seasons talking to his head trainer. Today, a new shortstop is in town for the Mets as one of the prior shortstops tries to get better, and a guy who filled in yesterday can only smile as the Mets try and get even with the Phillies tonight at Citi Field. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets play Game 2 of their 3-game series against the Phillies. You know, when the Mets let Jose Reyes walk away to Miami in the offseason, one of the rationales was that Jose had some problems staying healthy. Well, ironically enough, the shortstop position has been an area of major health concern for the Mets now. First Ruben Tejada, then Ronnie Cedeno, and most recently Justin Turner down with injuries. So all eyes turn to Omar Quintanilla tonight.
And actually, David Wright actually played a game at shortstop the other day. So this is the sixth person that will be playing shortstop. Omar Quintanilla came up with the Rockies in 2005, had a big opportunity in 2008 to play pretty much every day, played 81 ball games, hit .230. He's a guy that's a .300 lifetime hitter in the minor leagues, but a .213 lifetime major leaguer. And he had his one opportunity in 2008, and every other time after that, it's just been as a spot player, as a reserve player. Well, he can run, he can field, it's whether he can hit, but he's got to play shortstop. And the most important thing right now with this ball club is that they have good defense up the middle, and he does bring that.
Speaking of opportunity, another opportunity tonight for Jeremy Hefner to make an impression. His second big league start, and with Miguel Batista pitching on rehab tonight, it's time for Hefner to show what he can do.
Yeah, he had a couple of relief appearances in his last start. Of course, it looked good. The rain came, and then when he came back out, it really was a tough road. Did not make it through the fourth, gave up 6 runs, but looking for a better effort tonight. And going up against Joe Bland at University of Kentucky product, 77 and 66 in his career. Missed almost all of last year with elbow problems, 4-4 this season.
And Blanton's success becomes all the more important to a Phillies team that found out today they've lost Roy Halladay for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So it's the Mets and Phillies from Citi Field. All the action coming your way tonight right here on SNY. proud sponsor of the New York Mets. By Budweiser. By AT&T, rethink possible. By New York's 529 College Savings Program. By Kia Motors. And by Columbia Pictures movie That's My Boys, starring Adam Sandler and Andy Samberg, in theaters June 15th. Get to Citi Field as the series with the NL East rival Phillies concludes tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. Jeremy Hefner, who was rain delayed his last time out, hoping for better conditions tonight, although there is a threat of rain as the evening goes along. There's the Ford starting lineup that the Phillies will send up against him. Carlos Ruiz misses his second straight game with a mild hamstring injury, so Brian Schneider's behind the plate again. Ty Wigginton, who had a 6 RBI game yesterday, moves into the cleanup spot for Charlie Manuel as the Phillies now 2 games over 500.
Got a little more speed at the top with Juan Pierre, active leader in stolen bases, 560 in his great career.
So the Mets and Phils get set to renew acquaintances. Citi Field, the venue. First pitch coming right up. Where Citi credit and debit card holders enjoy savings and benefits at Citi Field. Learn more at Mets.com/Citi Tuesdays. Send your Mets to the 2012 MLB All-Star Game in Kansas City. Vote up to 25 times by logging on to Mets.com or LosMets.com and cast your ballot for your 2012 All-Stars now. Vote early, vote often, and vote Mets at Mets.com. There you see the storms that are coming in from the west. They're getting inundated in New Jersey and places right now, and the Mets are hoping that it'll skirt the ballpark and save Jeremy Hefner the problem of another rain delay.
Well, Jeremy Hefner from Perkins, Oklahoma, Seminole State University, then went on to Oral Roberts, drafted by the Padres in 2007 in the 10th round.
And the Metropolitan Lexus defense. Quintanilla. There you go, his last MLB start. He can play second base, and third base, but he's primarily a shortstop, second baseman, middle infielder.
Jimmy Rollins leads things off for the Phillies. Rollins 1 for 5 last night, hitting .224, and Hefner's first pitch on the inside corner, a strike, 0-1. Rollins hitting a little better as a left-hand hitter this year. And Hefner misses low, a ball and a strike. It'll be Rollins, Pierre, and Pence for the Phillies in the first inning. Phillies have begun to hit a little bit better as it's ripped down the right field line by Rollins for an opening base hit. Doing it to the corner to play it, and Rollins breaks it down into second base with a leadoff double.
Well, Jimmy Rollins coming into this game not off to a good start for this season. There's a hanging curveball right there, too much at the plate. He got the big leadoff hit in the inning last night, a 3-run ninth for the Phils. They got it rolling. And here he is again opening the game. He's always been a thorn in the Mets side.
You know, Keith, I checked that now with this hit last 11 games. He's around 400 against the Mets as Jimmy Rollins.
So here is Juan Pierre, who has done a terrific job as a part-time player, and he pushes a bunt foul, and that's a huge part of Pierre's game. Early in his career, he would generally come out to the ballpark on the road early before everybody else and roll balls along the first and third base lines to see how the putts were breaking.
Very good. Trying to check the arena stimp meter.
So Hefner in immediate difficulty with Rollins at second and nobody out. And again, Pierre showing bunt and taking low, ball and a strike. After Pence waiting on deck, Ty Wigginton behind him in the cleanup spot.
There's certain guys that are so good at bunting, you just fire it down the middle, get it over with.
And he drops down the bunt. Hefner will go to first with it. 1-3 on the sacrifice. And it seemed as though that was a design play, that Pierre was up there to sacrifice, which is not the Charlie Manuel school of offense. But I guess you go with what you got.
Well, I don't agree with it, and I love Charlie, but you got a nice red-hot hitter in Pierre who just keeps getting base hits, hitting .314. He's a smart enough hitter, a veteran, to pull the ball and knows how to get a pitch to hit that he can pull. He might drive him in.
Here's Hunter Pence with the runner at third. Mets will play the infield back. I mean, there are a couple of things at play here. One is that the Phillies are hitting far fewer home runs this year than they have in the past. So they're a little bit of a different kind of offensive ball club as Hefner misses with a curveball. And the other thing is you've got incoming weather. So does that make you more inclined to play for one run?
It might make some managers, but he has started to play this way for the last 20 games or so, especially with this lineup, Rollins and Pierre.
Pence chasing the high fastball, and it's 1-1. Well, the Phillies have hit 40 home runs in their first 50 games, their lowest total at this point in the season since 1998. So at least since they've been in Citizens Bank Park, and even before that, in their last years at Veterans Stadium, this is an unusually powerless Philadelphia team. And of course, losing Howard and Nutley has a big piece to do with that.
Well, there's the guy right there. Had the big career game yesterday, 6 RBI. Ty Wigginton, the former Met. And you notice all year long they've been throwing Pence up in his eyes. You say wonder.
Gets away from Nickius, and here comes Rollins to score the first run of the game. So a double, a sacrifice, and a wild pitch produced the game's first run. It's 1-0 Philadelphia.
Well, it comes 2 upstairs and wants to come with a slider down, and it's way down. Tough chance for Nickius. And if you're Pence, you're happy you scored a run, but darn, it was an easy RBI out there at third base. Throw the ball over the plate.
Is that what you really think?
Little dribbler, and Nickius picks it up foul. Tried to get it before it spun foul, but it was just outside the chalk. And so it's a foul ball, and Pence gets another chance.
Little backhand there.
Usually you'll see the catchers barehanded, right, Keith?
I think he wanted to get to it quick before it went foul.
So now it's 3-2 to Pence with 1 out and nobody on.
Fastball up in the eyes. Yep.
And he got him. Hefner with his first strikeout, 2 down in the inning.
this was actually a strike.
You know what? They've established this in the first at bat. It'd be interesting if they try to go to the well to Pence later in the game. Just underneath it.
Well, the Mets have done a better job against Pence than any other team in the league. He's just 5 for 29 now against Mets pitching this year. So here's Wigginton, last night's hero for the Phillies. Ty had a single, a double, a home run, and walked twice, drove in 6 runs. The 4th different player to drive in 6 runs in a game against the Mets this year. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Carlos Gonzalez in Colorado. Chris Johnson in Houston. J.P. Arencibia in Toronto. And then Wigginton last night. And only the 2nd former Met to have a 6 RBI game against the Mets. And he picks up where he left off last night with a 2-out hit. So Wigginton on base 6 times in a row to start this series. And the inning is prolonged for Shane Victorino.
You know what's interesting is that Bloomberg always sends us over some numbers, and the numbers on Hefner are that he throws his fastball less than half the time. So we always talk about secondary pitches. His secondary pitch is his fastball. He's a breaking ball pitcher.
Not the only Met for whom his fastball is his secondary pitch.
Right.
Here's Shane Victorino, 0 for 4 last night. The other Met whose fastball is his secondary pitch today was named National League Player of the Week. And that would be R.A. Dickey off his phenomenal back-to-back double-digit strikeout performances. So congratulations to R.A.
That has been just a tremendous story, R.A., and his struggles back to the big leagues, and now just having an all-star season.
Styling, right?
Boy, oh boy. In the Big Apple, too.
Wigginton at first and 2 out. And the off-speed pitch fouled off by Victorino. Victorino hitting at .255, much better right-handed than left-handed. And he's a free agent at the end of the year. It's going to be a very interesting call for the Phillies. A couple of Shamskis on here.
Nice. Who was your favorite player in the '69 Mets, Gary?
Buddy. Out to left center. And Neuenhuis cuts across and grabs it. In fact, Buddy Harrelson's in the house tonight. I think he's going to be visiting with Kevin a little bit later on. Mets come to bat, trailing 1-0. Baxter, his 5th time in the leadoff spot. He's done well with that. Omar Quintanilla makes his Mets debut tonight in the 8-hole. David Wright trying to get it going again on an 0 for 14 skid, and Duda 0 for 11 right behind him. Mets square off against Joe Blanton for the second time this year. And his first pitch to Baxter in for a strike.
The Mets are 4-0 when Baxter leads off. Here's Blanton's numbers for the year. 30-20 in the National League since he's come over from the Oakland Athletics.
See that walk to strikeout ratio extraordinary, and Baxter's hit by a pitch, and that's how the Mets get the leadoff man on. And that is our chance. He's sitting with his folks in his uniform.
That's pretty.
It's like his boys.
What a great man, Artie. Platooned with Swoboda? Is that how it went?
There were a lot of platoons. You had Clendenin and Cranepool at first. You had Weiss and Boswell at second.
Yep.
Garrett and Charles at third.
Art hit 300 that year, if I remember
exactly. 300. That's right. So here's Neuenhuis with a runner aboard.
I guess that's kind of the history of their World Championships, right? They have platoon. Both teams platooned a lot.
I think with Gill, though, it was more of a strict platoon.
Yeah.
As opposed to Davey, who just, shuffled stuff around.
Got bored.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I'll play Mitchell at shortstop today. David Wright on deck. Neuenhuis came off the bench last night, went 1 for 2. 8 hits in his last 21 at bats. And Blanton got him fishing. 2-1.
A little over anxious there, 2-0.
Well, for Blanton, pitching down in the strike zone is of great importance.
His changeup is his best pitch. Against left-handers, he'll throw that a lot. Also, he'll try to dart him inside with a fastball when he has 2 strikes.
Line toward right center. Over comes Victorino. He falls, and it skips away from him. Baxter will go to third. The throw by Victorino not in time. Shane Victorino has had his misadventures in center field lately, stumbling as he approached that ball by Neuenhuis, and the Mets have runners at the corners.
Boy, I tell you what, we've not seen this from Victorino. He has really had his troubles. He stumbles there, nicely knocks it down, but he misjudged this ball. He thought it was hit a lot better than it was.
Well, it looked like he had a beat on it, that he would have caught it had he not stumbled.
Yeah, it was a changeup from Blanton, and Neuenhuis kind of hit off the end of the bat. That's what fooled Victorino.
So it's a base hit all the way. Mets have first and third and nobody out, and an early chance for David Wright, trying to snap out of an 0 for 14 skid, his longest of the year. Last time he had a drought this long, it was April of last year when he had an 0 for 20.
Well, with the way he hit the first 6 weeks of the season, he was due to have a little bit of a bump sooner or later.
Still leading the league in batting, and he lines one off the glove of Rollins, and the Mets have that early run to tie the game. Well, looked like Rollins should have caught that ball, but it was hit hard enough that it clanked off his glove. They'll score a base hit for Wright, and the Mets have tied it at 1.
Just off the tip of his glove. Nope. Just not enough height.
That ball was hit right on the screws.
So a couple of Gold Glove players for the Phillies unable to make plays, and the Mets have a run. Nobody out and due to the batter, so Wright snaps out of that 0 for 14 skid, his 29th RBI, and now Duda takes ball 1. And if you're Joe Blanton, struggling so badly in his last 2 starts, this is not how you want it to begin the night.
And those 2 starts, it was the home run ball that undid him. Here, a couple of misplays.
There's the change right there. Blanton needs a double play. They'd say that Blanton's been getting hurt. Too many balls over the middle as you look at the 2 Gold Glovers right there.
Duda 0 for his last 11, hitting a .250 for the year. And he lofts one out to center, and Victorino is there to put it away for the first out. And the runners have to hold.
We'll take a look at the Philly defense, brought to you by Coors Light. Well, there's another Gold Glover there. We forgot all about him, didn't we? Over at third base, Mr. Polanco actually has won it in 2 positions, third and second base. So this is a team that has good D up the middle there, and Pence is no slouch out in right field, and they're just not showing it today so far.
So now Daniel Murphy trying to fight his way back. He's had a hit in his last 3 games after a brief skid. 2 on and 1 out, and he takes low and inside for ball 1. Murphy now at 297 for the year, 314 with runners in scoring position. Ike Davis on deck. And there's a strike. We talked about it with Blanton in the opening. With Roy Halladay now on the shelf for probably 2 months, there's a lot more riding on Blanton starts than there was yesterday. Galvis gets it to Rollins and no relay. Not quite hit hard enough to turn 2, and that keeps the inning alive. So they get the force on right for the second out. And do you feel that as a starting pitcher?
Yeah.
That added responsibility when you're a back of the rotation guy?
Gary, it's a good question. I think that there's no pitcher in baseball that goes out there and doesn't try to be excellent every single time. But you know that you're not allowed those little 3 or 4 start misfortunes where you're not pitching well for 2, 3, 4 starts. You've got to be more consistent. Blanton's got to feel that.
Now Ike Davis, and he takes low and away for ball 1. I mean, they still have a couple of big-time aces in Cliff Lee and Cole Hamels, but now they're going to be 3 days out of 5 when the big guns aren't pitching.
How I look at it, though, they've gotten nothing so far out of Cliff Lee. You don't have a win, so it has a chance for him to turn it up a notch also and pull everyone with him. But I think if you're a right-hander like Blanton and you get to watch Halladay and his excellence every single start, that's only got to help you when you watch him give you a blueprint to how to pitch certain hitters. Kendrick, though, coming off a shutout, his first shutout in his career. So
And Ike Davis rips a base hit into right field, and the Mets grab the lead. Nieuwenhuis is in to score the 3rd hit of the inning, and it's 2-1 New York. So Ike, who had gone hitless the last 2 days, gets a base hit his first time up tonight to drive in his 21st run of the year.
Well, let's see if he stays back here. Towards the end of the bat, out in front again, but that changeup was too much of the plate in. But it's a 2-out RBI, another 2-out run for the Metsies.
That's 107 this year, 1 more than the Cardinals for the major league lead. So now 2 on and 2 out for Mike Nickias. And Mike takes a strike. We're looking at that Phillies rotation. Ultimately, 10 days from now, they'll probably advance Worley back from the disabled list to take Halladay's spot. They'll probably need somebody to fill in for a start before then. Or they can just use their off day to try and skip that turn. That skips away from Schneider, and that'll move Murphy over to third as Davis holds at first. So Blanton with a wild pitch after Hefner had one on the top of the inning.
Curve in the dirt.
Schneider playing back-to-back games for only the 2nd time this year. He's a once-a-week kind of guy, being forced into a little extra service this week with Carlos Ruiz suffering with a bit of a hamstring problem. They sent Ruiz back to Philadelphia today, 3 hours down, 3 hours back to get his hamstring checked. I don't understand that. They do have doctors in New York, don't they?
Yeah, pretty good ones last time I heard.
And you can take an MRI or examine a guy anywhere, and the doctor in Philly can have the results in 10 seconds. Little tapper back to Blanton. He surrounds it and makes the toss to get Nickias and end the inning. But the Mets grab the lead at the bottom of the first. Couple of men aboard. David Wright with a base hit to tie it, and then Ike Davis with an RBI single to give the Mets a 2-1 lead after 1. Manhattan to become the 2012 SNY Kidcaster, presented by New York's 529 College Savings Program. And we'd like to congratulate J.J. Post on becoming the 2012 SNY Kidcaster. J.J. will be joining us in the booth later on this season. We can't guarantee him a home run, but we're hoping. New York's 529 College Savings Program would like to congratulate and thank all of the contest participants and finalists. Placido Polanco leads off in the second against Jeremy Hefner and bounces one foul. We've had some awfully good luck with our Kidcasters the last 2 years.
Oh boy, I'll say. Maybe we'll get another home run close to us tomorrow on the Pepsi porch.
That's right. Tomorrow night's the night. Hope it doesn't rain.
No, it's supposed to be beautiful tomorrow.
Yeah?
This stuff's all going to push through. Beautiful. Trust me.
Is that a guarantee?
It's a guarantee. Okay. It's all pushing through.
I won't bring my umbrella.
That's right. We can get electrocuted up there, right?
Oh, that's
always
great.
a nice thought.
You've gone from it's going to be a beautiful night to we might get electrocuted. That was quite a leap, my friend.
All right. Make the call to the insurance guy tomorrow.
Polanco 1 for 5 last night. And he takes it on the inside corner, strike 3 called. So Polanco, always a tough man to fan. Looks at that fastball and gripes a bit with Mark Carlson about it.
Boy, I'll tell you, I love that he's throwing this pitch. I think for Hefner, who's a breaking ball pitcher, got to paint inside, and he did to Polanco.
That's black. Well, there's no more black on the plate, but that's right on the corners.
There's your umpire and crew tonight. Mark Carlson has the plate. Ed Rapuano, the crew chief at first. Angel Hernandez and Chris Conroy rounding out the crew. Freddie Galvis takes a strike. Galvis went 0 for 5 last night and struck out 3 times. He had been a very hot hitter for Philly coming into the series.
He did not look good at the plate yesterday. He was stepping so far in the bucket all day long.
Reminds me a little of Ozzie Guillen when he first came up. A real kind of wild swinger, good bad ball hitter.
And Galvis pulling off that sinker, and it's 2-2. Well, Galvis is 22 years old. He's been playing every day since the start of the season. And you have to wonder whether he's wearing down a little bit. Kind of like what we saw with Ruben Tejada last year.
I don't understand that, wearing down when you're in your 20s. I don't get it. How do you wear down in your 20s? Goodness. Put them on AstroTurf in St. Louis with just the cutouts around the bases.
I mean, back when men were men?
Well, no, I didn't say that. God, we're not even in June yet.
Speaking of Ruben, he is in New York today. He's here for a medical exam as Galvis hits one out to right center. And easing over his Nieuwenhuis to call. And there are 2 out. Tejada was very optimistic about his imminent return. But it looks like the first guy the Mets will get back from the disabled list is going to be Josh Thole. The plan is for Thole to go to Buffalo, DH tomorrow, catch Chris Young in his rehab start on Thursday, and then be here perhaps as early as Friday.
Yep.
Which is certainly a great note for the Mets.
Caught 9 innings today, right?
In an extended spring training game down in St. Lucie. Here's Brian Schneider, former Mets catcher. And he hits one deep to right field. Back goes Duda to the track, looking up, and it's out of here.
Wow.
Brian Schneider hitting one up in the Pepsi porch for his second home run of the season. And that ties the game at 2. Perhaps that's a prelude to tomorrow night, because that would have been right in our laps.
Oh, they threw the ball back in, a la Wrigley Field.
That's about the silliest thing I've ever seen.
I tell you what, if that's me, catch that ball, I'm taking it home.
Well, Schneider is a first ball fastball hitter. Boy, he almost falls down. He swung so hard.
Well, he got this one.
Nice grab.
Really?
That's your seat tomorrow night, Keith.
Okay.
Right where that guy was. Now, you're telling me you catch that ball from Brian Schneider, you are keeping it.
I won't. When I was a kid, I'll give it to a kid out there.
But you're not throwing it back.
No.
If that's you tomorrow night, you are not throwing it back.
No, I'll give it to a kid up there, and I'll tell him I'm not giving it to you if you throw it back. It's for you to go home with.
Now Hefner, after the home run, falls behind the pitcher Blanton 3-0. And what if he then throws it back?
Oh, I'll be hot. I'll have him ejected.
There's a strike 3-1. But think of what would happen if you did throw it back. Think how the crowd up there would explode.
That would be good theater, wouldn't it?
Well, I was thinking about it this way. If the Mets hit one and you catch it,
right,
you're so accurate with your arm, throw it back at the right temperature so it just ends up at the plate and they got their momentum.
Oh, I could never,
when they come in.
I could never reach home.
Hefner knocks it down and has plenty of time to throw out Blanton to retire the side, but the Phillies get it back even on Brian Schneider's second home run of the season. First home run given up by Jeremy Hefner as a big league pitcher. And for the Phillies, who have not been hitting a lot of home runs, this one gets them even. 2-2 in the second. Against the Yankees last night. Now he goes on the DL with a back strain. Maglio Ordonez couldn't find anybody to sign him, so he's going to retire as a Tiger on Sunday. And Roy Oswalt, who was sitting out waiting for the right offer, took it from the team with the best record in the American League. He'll be a Texas Ranger.
Well, $8 million contract, or a prorated, so he's going to have $4 million he'll get from it, and $1 million incentive if he makes 10 starts or more.
Now, do you think if he had held out for another week, maybe he could have come back to the Phillies?
If you had a choice, what team would you come back to right now? Or not come back to? What team would you sign with if you could sign with anyone?
Oh, probably Texas.
Yes, exactly.
In terms of run support.
Ooh.
But, you know, he's been successful in Philadelphia.
That's right.
Here's Omar Quintanilla making his Mets debut. Quintanilla is 30 years old, former #1 draft pick out of the University of Texas, and he drives one out to left center field, chasing back Victorino. He won't get there, and it's off the fence. Quintanilla racing to second, and he dives in with a leadoff double. Welcome to New York, Omar Quintanilla.
Gets a little sinker right there, goes right with it. He had a very good spring offensively. And this is off the base of the wall.
Boy.
Omar has always been a very good minor league hitter. It's over 300 almost every year. He was hitting .282 at Buffalo when he was called up.
And you see the ball away, you hit it right up at the plate. That is perfect balance. Nicely done.
So now Hefner can try to bunt him over to third with the go-ahead run. And Jeremy gets the bunt down beautifully, forces Polanco to handle the ball. 5-4 on the sacrifice, moving Quintanilla over to third. First major league sacrifice for Jeremy Hefner.
That was great by Jeremy. He really directed that ball to Polanco. Good angle on the bat. Watch, he gets it out front. Watch how he kind of turns it at the last minute and gets that angle to get it over to third base. See that? Nice. On top of the baseball.
So they teach him in Oklahoma.
There you go.
So now Baxter will try and get the run in. Corners are in for the Phillies. The middle infielder's back. Baxter hit by a pitch his first time, and he hits it sharply. Base hit. And that brings Quintanilla home with the go-ahead run. Baxter's going to try for two. Victorino's throw is not in time. A hustle double for Mike Baxter, and it's 3-2 New York.
Well, nice hustle hitting first, and Baxter does not hesitate. And Victorino hustled over there. That's just good. I tell you what, Baxter can run. He's quick. Never hesitates. Nice turn on that bag.
Amazing when you hustle out of the box, good things can happen.
Mike Baxter has 59 at bats this year. He has 11 doubles. 11. 3-2 New York, and now Kirk Neuenhuis swinging late, fouls it off.
That's more than Ike and Duda combined.
Neuenhuis hit a fly ball to center on which Victorino fell down. It fell for a base hit, and Neuenhuis scored a run in the first. And that's hit sharply. Nice play by Wigginton, and gets to his feet to make the toss for the second out. Ty Wigginton saving a run.
Tell you what, these guys in the field got to put some body armor on. There's some bullets being hit out there.
Well, the Mets may not be getting the elevation that the Cardinals got against Blanton in his last start, but they are certainly hitting the ball sharply. So now David Wright has snapped his 0 for 14 skid with an RBI single off Rollins' glove his first time up.
One of the key parts of the ball game yesterday with Hamels on the mound, David Wright came up with a runner on third base and was pitched to with 2 outs.
And that is knocked down by Schneider to save a run. So Blanton getting plenty of help right now.
So Charlie Manuel opted to pitch to David Wright with his all-star pitcher, ace Cole Hamels, and he got to induce David into a ground ball to third base to end the inning. A big out in that ball game yesterday.
He did it the same way Blanton was trying to do with that first pitch. Rush David in. Coming back in again.
Two and 0 now to Wright with Duda on deck. Chases the changeup, and it's 2-1. First time the Mets saw Blanton this year, they spotted him 4 runs. Remember, Miguel Batista started that game in Philly, gave up 2 in the first, 2 in the second, but Blanton could not hold the lead. Mets rallied to win that game 7-4. No decision game for Blanton.
So David going after 2 bad pitches and a change.
And this is the only difference between him when he was on top of his game, is that he was not swinging at anything out of the strike zone.
He's just fooled. It's still a good swing. That fool in the changeup.
Now it's 2-2 with Baxter at third and 2 out. And David bloops one. Rollins back. Should have the play and puts it away to end the inning. But the Mets cash a run to regain the lead on Baxter's RBI double. Kevin Burkhardt will be joined by Mets catcher Rob Johnson in the dugout when we come back. Right down to the dugout where Kevin Burkhart's standing by with Rob Johnson.
You know, Rob, first when we get to today, I want to ask you about yesterday, catching Nice. You caught his game yesterday, and you also caught his gem his last time out. The difference yesterday was what?
His ability, you know, really to locate the two-seamer and the cutter. It was outstanding in Pittsburgh. Yesterday it was a little bit all over the place. He was just having, you know, a tough time controlling really all of his pitches, you know, so we were battling. And, you know, I felt like he kept us close through 5, you know, and then he gave up the home run in the 6th, which hurt. But, you know, if he gets back with his commanding his fastball and his cutter down in the zone, he's going to be really good for us.
As Rollins is retired, there's one away that'll bring up Pierre. So when you're in the bullpen, you're warming up. Say you're catching today, you're catching Hefner. How much of what you take out there do you bring to the mound?
You know, you get a good feel. I had a really good feel again for Nice down in Pittsburgh. I had a great feel for, you know, Dylan G in his last start as well. You know, oftentimes it does translate, but there's been times where guys are lights out in the bullpen and they bring it out in the game and they get shelled, and then vice versa. They can't even throw a strike in the bullpen, bring it out in the game. So, you know, between the lines is a lot different, but you know, it can be brought.
How much of a factor as we watched Jeremy work tonight, just in a guy making his second MLB start? Obviously, the first one didn't go the way he wanted. How much does that factor into your decision making?
Yeah, you know, I talked to Hef a little bit after his last start, and you know, obviously he wants to come back with a big start tonight, and you know, obviously, you know, he gave up a couple runs, you know, first, second inning, but man, he's a competitor, and he's going to find ways to get guys out. And again, he's got 4 pitches that he can throw pretty much any time for a strike. So, you know, if he can keep the ball down in the zone, he's going to give himself a good chance.
Pierre's retired, 2 down. What do you like from him tonight so far?
He's right away. The first thing I noticed was his fastball down the zone. If he can continue to do that, he's going to have success. It's when he leaves balls up, just like any pitcher up at this level. When you leave balls up, you know, big league hitters are going to, you know, put a hurting on him. So, you know, if he can keep the ball down, keep guys, you know, back and forth with his off-speed pitch, I think he'll be all right.
Rob, great insight. Thanks for letting me invade your space in the dugout for a moment.
Hey, thanks, Kevin.
All right, good luck the rest of the way. Rob Johnson, guys, let's go back to you.
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks to Rob for doing the interview. Brought to you by the Xerox Business of Baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
It was great insight by Rob Johnson there, especially about the bringing from the bullpen and catching today's starter.
Pence pops one up into shallow left. Quintanilla out. Baxter in, and Baxter there to grab it. An easy inning for Jeremy Hefner. He threw just 8 pitches to retire the Phillies 1-2-3 for the first time. 3-2 Mets in the 3rd. Is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. That is unbelievable. How does the water keep its shape like that after the balloon is gone?
Super slow-mo.
Oh my goodness, that is fantastic.
Let's hope it's not a prelude.
We have had great fun with water the last 2 nights on the super slow-mo. Lucas Duda leads off the home 3rd inning. Mets up 3-2. And they continue to pitch Duda inside. Well, if you look at the weather map right now, The radar shows that there's a huge line of thunderstorms running from Maine to North Carolina, and it's all to the west of us and coming this way.
Wow.
I say 6th inning.
I say the 10th, and we only play 9.
Very nice.
How about that?
That would be wonderful, Garrett.
Lucas Duda fly to center his first time up, and the curveball from Blanton in for a strike, 1-2. Duda now 0 for his last 12. Murphy and Davis to follow as the Mets present 3 left-handed bats against Blanton here in the 3rd. And they just pound him in, don't they?
Yep.
He's not going to let the big strong man extend his arms. Establish in, and then you can go away.
It sets up a changeup, though, once you pound him in.
And he misses with the sinker, and it's 3-2. Blanton hasn't walked anybody. He's walked only 8 batters all year in 59 innings, the best control in the National League statistically. And he gets Duda looking for the first out. First strikeout for Blanton.
Well, he missed twice inside. 3-2. You got to get more of the plate. He started that right on the inside corner and it stayed true. It was more of a four-seamer there on the inside corner and just caught the front. Good pitch.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Murphy, who grounded into a force play his first time, and he flies 1 out to center field. Victorino, who's had a busy night, good and bad, puts this one away for the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. Let's look at the Subway Mets upcoming schedule. You can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. One more with the Phillies tomorrow night. We'll be up in the Pepsi porch for the series finale. Then the Cardinals come in for 4 games Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday night, and Monday afternoon. Then the Mets go to Washington, the Bronx, and Tampa Bay for a very difficult 9-game road trip. Does it count as a 9-game road trip if you come back to your own city to play 3 games in the middle? It's like Davis, who singled in a run his first time, and Blanton works the outside corner. Like Nickius would be next. Now Blanton's 1-1, and Davis golfs one down the left field line, foul. 1-2. We talked about Blanton having the fewest walks per 9 innings in the National League. The Phillies have 4 in the top 10 in that category. That's their mantra. Throw strikes. And there's a strike to Ike Davis to get him looking. 2 strikeouts in the inning by Blanton. He got both Duda and Davis the same way. See how water holds its shape. Super slow-mo style. Couplet of Lee and G go head to head for the second time this year. Cliff Lee, amazingly, still looking for his first victory of the season. Dylan G coming off a fine outing against the Padres his last time. Keith, you snapping photos again?
Gotta get back on that just for men.
Really? Didn't think about that.
Been letting yourself go. Ty Wigginton singled to center his first time up. Mets still have not gotten him out in this series, so Hefner tries the up and in variety. No swing, says Ed Rapuano.
If he'd have hit it, it would have been a double.
The way it's going for Wigginton right now, you're probably right. Fourth time Ty's hit cleanup this year for the Phillies as they await the return of their regular cleanup hitter, Ryan Howard. I have to figure Howard's probably a little closer than Utley at this point to returning, but it's hard to know for sure because especially Utley has been so circumspect about his return. I mean, Utley spoke at length the other day after taking some ground balls, but he's still with the Phillies and not able to go down to Clearwater and do more extensive baseball activities. And finally, the Mets find a way to get Ty Wigginton. Hefner strikes him out. That's his third of the night.
Oh, threw everything at him, Keith, right?
Change up right here to get him out of the strike zone, down.
So after Wigginton reached base 6 straight times to start the series, he's the first out here in the fourth. And now Shane Victorino flying to center his first time up. And the curveball from Hefner in for a strike. Well, the Phillies offense has certainly picked up in the second month of the season. They were not doing anything the first month of the year. 3.3 runs per game. They're almost 5 runs per game in May. Slow ground ball for Davis to handle, and the tag on Victorino for the second out. So things have certainly gotten better for the Phillies, but the two guys who've really carried them in May are Carlos Ruiz, who's not playing tonight, and Freddie Galvis, who he's a 22-year-old rookie.
Yeah,
I'm not sure whether you can count on him to carry you all season.
And he hasn't looked good in his 5 at-bats thus far in this series.
I mean, early in the season, Hunter Pence got off to a good start, but he's only been so-so of late.
And Pierre's probably been their most consistent hitter, but, just singles from him.
Well, the Phillies saw their offense take a downturn last year. And, they're a team that clearly is built around pitching more than anything else. And with their ace of aces now out for a couple of months, you wonder how they'll survive.
They're going to have a hard time surviving. It's going to be tough.
Well, Hefner, just like he did in Toronto, starting to get into a nice rhythm.
That was that 5-inning relief outing against the Blue Jays. This is only his 4th big league appearance. He had 3 good innings in relief against the Giants. Then he went back to the minors, came back, joined the team in Toronto, and that day pitched 5 innings in relief, and then had that weather interrupted start in his last outing against the Padres.
He had that start where Miguel Batista hurt himself, right, and had to come in the game early.
Batista was supposed to pitch on rehab tonight, but got his start rained out, so he'll go tomorrow. But he'll be available the next time through the rotation. So Hefner's kind of pitching for his job tonight. The thing about Batista is he can fill any role on your staff. So if Hefner pitches well as a starter, there'll be every incentive to leave him in that spot. At least until Chris Young is ready. And that could be 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
Here's the 3-2 to Polanco, and he reaches forward and taps it into right for a base hit. What a Polankish at bat. 0-2 to 3-2. Take it to right.
He might be the only guy in baseball you would consider putting the left-handed shift on to right field. He hits everything to right field.
Well, particularly with 2 strikes.
Yep.
So you gotta pound him inside with 2 strikes.
So that very impressive graphic. 15 batters faced, 12 first pitch strikes for Hefner. So tying run at first with 2 out. Now Galvis, who flied to center his first time up. He may be young, Galvis, but he goes with the old school stirrups. Looks like Jamie Moyer.
Again, another reason I feel like he's like Ozzie Guillen. Of course, 13.
Well, 13 is a revered number for middle infielders from Venezuela.
Davey Concepcion. Boy, he could play.
And so many outstanding Venezuelan infielders have worn it since, including Edgardo Alfonso, Ozzie Guillen, Omar Vizquel.
Yeah. He's always smelling his bat after he makes contact. Sometimes get that little smells like smoke or fire, right?
Isn't that what
George Brett said, right? You can see smoke.
Well, didn't Ted Williams, when they rolled him out for the All-Star game, he asked McGuire whether he smelled fire when he hit. As a strike, and it's 2-2.
About that time, yeah, he was smelling fire. A lot of fire.
And others were smelling a rat. 2-2 to Galvis with 2 out. And it's driven out to center, and Neuenhuis has it measured. And that retires the side. A hit and 1 left. Hefner pitching well with a 3-2 lead in the 4th. I'm going to check in with Kevin, who's sitting by with Buddy Harrelson, who's here as part of the City Alumni Association. Kevin?
You got it, Gary. And City Tuesdays, too. All City card holders get special perks on Tuesday, discounts on merchandise, things like that. There's a tent out in center field, also a kiosk outside. Buddy here promoting that. And it's always good to talk baseball with Bud Harrelson. You know, there's been a lot of alumni around. It's been kind of nice this year. And, you know, when we talk about your special year in '69, we talk a lot, and rightfully so, about all the same special plays. What about that year was under the radar, do you think? That was, you think, a big moment for that team, Bud?
Well, I always said, you know, when I first got here, we couldn't beat the West Coast. We couldn't beat the Dodgers and the Giants, and, you know, and then, of course, San Diego. We didn't do good on the West Coast. And that year was the first time that we dominated the West Coast.
And Nickius gives it a ride, but Pence makes a great catch, and there's one away. Go ahead, Bud.
Okay. So I think that was a turning point for us. And, of course, Gil came in '68, and he platooned guys in '69. Yeah. And, you know, so he kept everybody sharp. I think that really helped us in the playoffs and the World Series.
How about organization-wide, the feeling when, you know, later in that year, you finally got into first place. It had never happened in the existence of the team. So you get into first place. What did that feel like for that team? Did you get a sense that, hey, this is a milestone here?
Well, you know, I mean, I came up in '65 for the cup of coffee, and in mid '66, so you know, I went through some pretty bad years there, and then. You know, we got Clendenin. I mean, a lot of good things happened. You know, a lot had to do with Vietnam War and the man on the moon, and you know, a lot of good things happening. And so, Gil was the leader, and you knew he was the leader, and you know, he got everybody hustling and made us all better professionals.
40 years plus since. What in the game that has changed do you like, and what don't you like?
Well, I like to see the pitchers go a little longer. You know, if you're good enough to start, you're good enough to stay in there. You know, and you know, in my era, there was a lot of complete games. You know, you didn't go out with your red shandings. You didn't go out and get you know, the pitchers. You know, I mean, you know, Gibson would just say, "Go back." Yeah. You know, this is my game, and I'm going to finish it. And you know, I do like the designated hitter in the other league because, you know, there's some guys that can't play positions anymore. And at least you get, you know, you get jobs for guys that can still hit.
You know, as we see 2 outs now, and Hefner will hit against Blanton, trying to prevent a 1-2-3 inning. And, you know, the shortstop position, I'm curious your take on that. I mean, you know, obviously it went from your era, and then, you know, Cal Ripken started off the home run hitting type bigger guys. And I don't know, it seems like it's starting to come back a little bit. What do you see?
With the littler guys?
Oh, the smaller, scrappier, speedier.
Tejada, you know, is a small guy, you know, and he's learning how to hit. He's hitting the ball. He's a very, very good player. He's only getting better, and he's, you know, he does everything by the book. He gets in front of everything. You know, he doesn't. He's not flashy. He just makes the plays, and he makes all the plays. So, you know, it's nice to see shortstops that are, you know, we were all 150 pounds and switch hitters when I was playing.
Well, Bud, it's always great to see you. And the nice addition of the goatee, by the way, Gary Hefner.
Deep toward the left field corner. Pierre looking up, and it's out of here. Jeremy Hefner with his first major league home run. He's having himself quite a night. He had 1 minor league home run in his career, and now his first hit as a big leaguer. He takes it deep to make it 4-2 New York.
Everyone in Perkins, Oklahoma said, "I told you he could hit." Wow.
Well, that was something.
Like a change or a fastball right upstairs, middle in, and he just took a nice swing at it. How about that?
He was 0 for 10 at Buffalo this year. 6 for 58 with a home run in his minor league career. His second official big league at bat. High fastball leaves the yard. Wow.
Off a pitcher who has the only World Series home run hit by a pitcher, Joe Blanton.
That's the first home run for a Mets pitcher this year. And Baxter called out on strikes to end the inning, but Jeremy Hefner pitching well and now showing off his hitting chops as well. Sneak attack, first pitch. And he takes Blanton deep. 4-2 New York.
Very happy to be joined from the dugout by Mets bench coach Bob Guerin. Bob, we just had Buddy Harrelson on a moment ago, and he was singing the praises of the designated hitter. You managed in the American League with Oakland, and right after that happened, Jeremy Hefner takes one deep. There's got to be no bigger thrill than seeing your pitcher hit a home run.
You don't see that very often, and when he hit it, it looked like a no-doubter right off the bat, and that was the biggest eruption in the dugout all year of all the homers, I think.
Bob, you got Mike Nickias catching Hefner here. You've worked a lot with the catchers in spring training coming over. Nickias and Tolley. How have they done so far for you this year?
Pleased with them. They work hard. They have a nice daily routine. They get here early. They go over the game plan. They look at all the scouting reports, and then they do their physical work before the game. And they've done a great job behind the plate. They really have. It was an area of improvement that we needed to make, and so far I'm pleased. I know Terry's pleased with it. And they're going to continue to get better because they're both pretty young and they're hard workers.
Of course, they have to have special skills being on this staff with R.A. Dickey. How do you best counsel your catchers to deal with a knuckleball?
That's a tough one. You know, fortunately, they both had experience with R.A. in the past, and they've caught him a little bit in the past, and they're getting used to it. I know Mike Nickias, the last few starts, R.A.'s ball is moving so much that he actually has come to the dugout a couple of times a little bit shell-shocked, where he's caught balls and spun around and started to run back to the backstop thinking he didn't catch him. And, it's tough. It's like you get a bunch of balls in the dirt, and after a while you kind of, you get a little bit tight. But they've done a pretty good job. I mean, considering, when a knuckleballer is pitching, the more the catcher drops the ball, it seems like, that's going to be a better game for him because they're not going to hit the ball as well. But it's tough. And the big thing is they just try to shift their body, stay behind it. If they do miss it, they have their body to slow it down a little bit.
Bob, going from being a manager in the American League to being a bench coach in the National League, what's the biggest adjustment you've had to make?
Sleeping too much at night. That's a lot of fun. Terry's great. He's got a lot of energy. He's given me a lot of responsibilities to take off his shoulder, which I appreciate. I know he does. And it's just a great team. The atmosphere that Terry's created, with this team, it's just a pleasure coming to the field every day. Some of the adjustments for me, just learning the league a little bit. The National League East is a team that we've played in interleague just, relatively a few times in the last 5 years. So I'm getting to know some of the guys and spend a little more time in the scouting. But fortunately, we have a lot of our opponents right there in spring training that we got to see. Got to know a lot of them in spring training. But just, learning the guys, learning the league, and learning what Terry wants, because a bench coach really is ultimately whatever the manager wants him to do. So I'm just trying to please him, basically.
Hey, Bob, thanks so much for taking some time with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's Bob Guerin, the Mets bench coach, joining us live from the dugout. Part of the Xerox business of baseball. Xerox ready for real business.
Well, the best part of that is Jeremy Hefner got 2 outs in a row because Bob told us if a runner got on, he had to give the signs to Mike Nickias. So we got lucky there.
And those signs would be what?
Whether
throw over or pitch out.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy Hefner living large tonight. He's retired 9 of the last 10. And now he gets Rollins to roll one out to Murphy. So it's another 1-2-3 inning for Hefner. This is now an official game halfway through with rain on the way. 4-2 New York. Stanley Cup Finals plus recaps and previews of all the Mets and Yankees matchups on Daily News Live, Wheelhouse, and Loudmouths, all part of the New York Sports Local. Weekdays starting at 5 only on SNY. Kirk Neuenhuis leads off the home fifth and takes a strike from Joe Blanton. Well, Blanton gave up 2 in the first, 1 in the second, and then shockingly Jeremy Hefner's home run in the fourth. And that has the Mets 2 runs to the good. Neuenhuis right in the middle of that first inning 2-run outburst with a fly ball single on which Victorino fell down. Then he hit the ball hard his second time up, but Wigginton robbed him of a hit, and he's got his own crew now. Doesn't take long.
He's going to be a popular player here.
He could have his own K corner.
That's right. No, he doesn't want that.
No, probably not. It'd just be a different spin on a concept.
Yeah.
Curveball sits high, 1-2, right and Duda to follow. Hey, the Cyclones mascot is here tonight. Cyclone season must not be too far away.
Yeah, they usually start what, in early June, middle of June?
Galvis gets in front of it and throws out Neuenhuis one away. So 1 out and nobody on. Check out the Nissan 5th inning recap. Jeremy Hefner front and center. He's got the lead tonight, and he's hit his first major league home run. First home run by a Mets pitcher since Johan Santana 2 years ago hit his lone major league home run. And how's this for an obscure fact? This comes from Mark Simon of ESPN. It's only the second time that a Met pitcher has homered in the year of his major league debut. The only other, Paul Wilson, homered in his first year in 1996. That was part of Generation K.
K, right?
I thought that Paul Wilson had the best stuff of the three of them. He had the most injuries. He was always
hurt his arm, right?
Oh man!
First overall pick in the draft coming out of Florida
and
State.
Never a harder worker than Paul.
Justin Turner back from the doctor. We've yet to hear the full diagnosis on Justin. Of course, we were told last night he had a sprained ankle. Whether that's the extent of it or there's some other piece of that diagnosis, we're still waiting to hear. But he has been placed on the disabled list, with Omar Quintanilla taking his spot. And that's unfortunate for Justin, who was just starting to swing the bat well. Grounded down to third, and Polanco throws out right 2 away. Well, this was last night, and this was gruesome to watch. And, you know, you watch it, and it certainly looks like he got hurt before he got back to first. Right there.
Yes, right there. But it looked like he pulled up a little lame on his left leg.
That's why we're waiting for a fuller diagnosis to hear exactly what the extent of his injury or injuries might be. 2 out and nobody on. Here's Lucas Duda, who's flied out and struck out 0 for 2.
Chase Utley
waiting
patiently.
Been doing a lot of waiting. Well, the last few years have not been fun for Utley with the hip injury and the knee injury. And we've seen him change as a player even when he's been healthy enough to play.
Well, he's changed as a player because he's playing, but he's not 100% healthy.
And Duda takes it high, ball 4, and so the Mets have a 2-out base runner. First walk by Blanton, only his 9th of the year in 63 innings. So Murphy will get a chance.
This would be a great time for a hitter. After a pitcher like Blanton walked a hitter on 4 pitches, look for something middle of plate in. Pitcher's got to deliver a strike at some point, especially a control artist like Blanton.
And Murphy would like to hit a home run sometime this year. Murphy now 187 at bats deep in his season. Same guy who 3 years ago led the Mets in home runs for the year, albeit only with 12. A ball and a strike to Murph, who's 0 for 2 tonight. Ike Davis on deck. Mets with 4 runs and 6 hits. The Phillies 2 runs and 4 hits.
And Murphy slashes one off the glove of Polanco and into foul ground. Duda digging for third. Murphy goes to second, and the Mets have 2 in scoring position on Murphy's opposite field double. 14th double of the year for Murph.
Well, this is something that Murph has been doing of late. Hit a couple balls at homestand right down the third base line. And he's been struggling at the plate, and he's looking to go that way and bring it back before he starts pulling again.
Beat the Gold Glove third baseman to his right. Mets have had how many balls off Philadelphia gloves tonight?
Victorino, the one that dropped in front of him in the first inning.
Rollins.
Linia by right off Rollins' glove, and that one there.
So a chance for Ike Davis, and they're going to walk him intentionally. And it's interesting because, you know, Ike has been struggling so badly, but he does have a run scoring hit in this game. And so with Nickius next, despite the fact that Mike hit the ball very well his last time up, this would look like the right move.
Nickius likes hitting with the bases loaded this year, though, doesn't he?
Well, he did recently the other day.
There's Charlie. He did not pitch around David Wright last night. If you recall, Cole Hamels got the big out in the inning.
So Nickius will bat with the bases full. Last time up, he drove one to deep right center, and Hunter Pence made an outstanding play to rob him of an extra base hit. It was Saturday afternoon in the 8th inning against Dale Thayer that Nickius came up with the bases loaded and cracked his first major league grand slam.
Is it a home run fastball from Thayer?
Isn't everything? Actually, he threw some breaking balls in that outing, and he gave up 5 runs. Maybe you should stick with the fastball. Low and away to Nickius. Here's the play Pence made on Nickius' last time up.
And he ran a long way for this ball.
Needed every ounce of stretch. Nicky is 0 for 2 tonight. 2 hits in his last 30 at bats. One of those 2 that grand slam. And he takes it at the knees for a strike. That is the only grand slam that a Met has hit this season.
Did you ever hit a home run, Ronnie?
Yeah, 2.
He hit him in back-to-back starts.
Was I there?
That was good.
You sure were.
Jeez, I must have been asleep.
1989. Floyd Yeomans and Norm Charlton.
Well, from the way you talked about tonight, I must have drove on the runs in front of you. You got a little angry. took away your ribeye steak.
That's right. How dare you?
2-1 now to Nickius. And Mike swings and grounds one to short. Comes up for Rollins. It'll go to first with it to get Blanton out of 5th inning trouble. Mets load him up and leave him that way after 5, 4-2 New York. Inside SNY.TV, the ultimate blog network featuring a continuous flow of sports news straight from the best New York sports blogs. SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Juan Pierre leads off the 6th inning against Jeremy Hefner, who has held the Phillies to 2 runs and 4 hits. Hasn't walked a batter, struck out 3, thrown just 73 pitches. And Boot has hit a home run of his own. Pierre is sacrificed and grounded out 0 for 1, and he takes a strike. Pierre, Pence, and Wigginton up for the Phillies in the 6th. And as always against Pierre, the corners are in. Changeup missing, and it's 1-1. Pierre bluffing at that bunt. 2 balls and a strike.
Disguises that bunt so well, right? You don't even see him square around to the last seconds.
And he lines one over short, and that's a base hit for Pierre. He's been doing that for a long time. So the leadoff man on for the Phillies in the 6th. Let's check in with Kevin.
Guys talking to Hefner about his repertoire, and he said when he got to the Padres organization, he was looking back, very grateful. They took his slider out of the equation. When he was taken out of Oral Roberts, slider was a big thing for him, and he only threw the curveball as a show-me pitch, and the Padres really liked his curveball. So this could be much more than a show-me pitch. He said they thought the slider was kind of a sweeping slider, easily hit. They took it away early, and it allowed him to work on his curveball more. Really grateful for that, and it feels like it's helped him. Also, Wade LeBlanc in that Padres system showed him his cutter, so he incorporated those 2 things, and he really became a different pitcher, guys.
And that really is not that unusual a story these days. A guy who will lose his slider and gain a cutter as a more effective pitch against opposite side hitters. 1-0 to Pence, who struck out and flied out. Of course, Hefner was in the Padres organization for 5 years, put on waivers, claimed by the Pirates, and then just a few weeks later the Pirates put him on waivers. The Mets claimed him, and here he is making his 2nd big league start. And now he's behind on Pence, 2-0. So the Mets are going to get their bullpen busy in case Hefner needs help here in the 6th inning. Ty Wigginton waiting on deck.
Got to watch here. A steady diet of high fastballs, a lot of fastballs to Pence in his first 2 at bats.
Shown an ability to throw that changeup when he's needed to.
Well, that was great to see Ramirez. Rob Johnson saying that that's his game, is that if he's behind, he can throw any pitch, and he's got to do that.
Certainly not an overpowering pitcher. And his history in the minor leagues was he gave up a lot of hits, and that's what you'd expect from a guy who doesn't throw all that hard. So he's got to be very precise to be successful, and he's been there tonight. Pierre, 6 stolen bases this year, 560 in his career.
Over 2,000 hits in his career, and just 5 shy of 1,000 runs. Pretty good career.
Yeah. Well, he was a principal participant for that 2003 Marlins team that won the World Series.
He and Castillo at the top of that order, right?
They wreaked havoc that year.
And a hustler, a hard worker and a hustler.
Now Hefner behind on Pence, 3-1, and he pulls it down to third, past to diving right. An extra base hit for Pence. Pierre goes to third. He'll be waved around third base as the ball is bobbled in the corner, and scoring easily is Pierre, and on to third goes Pence. Well, Baxter had to go underneath the padding to pick it up, and that cost him enough time that the run comes in and Pence winds up at third.
Well, just down the line here, and you can see the padding does not go all the way to the ground. Oh, it went under, but it just got through his glove. So that's probably going to be a double and an error.
So it's 4-3, and now the tying run is at third with nobody out. Wind starting to pick up with the rain approaching. It is a double, an error on the left fielder, allowing the run to score and enabling the tying run to go to third.
And so he'll lose the RBI because the runner was held up, correct, Gary?
No RBI. Run scores on the air. And the wind really starting to gust now. Now Wiggins in the infield back, and the curveball off the plate. 2-0.
Last at bat for Wigginton in the fourth. He struck him out. It was the first time the Mets got him out in this series.
Tap to first. The runner will hold at third. And Davis gets the out. Pence took a couple of steps down the line, thought about it, and then thought better of it, and wisely so.
Well, Pence, watch him. He doesn't take it for granted. He comes down the line hard and makes the choice. Good base running.
So now with one out and the tying run at third, and again, weather impending plays a role here. Shane Victorino, the batter. And the Mets will bring the infield in, trying to choke off that tying run. Victorino's flied out and grounded out tonight, 0 for 2. And the curveball stopped by Nickias. It rolled behind him, but not far enough for Pence to make a break. Go Blanton, interested observer. Victorino 0 for 6 in this series now. And Hefner's curve drops in for a strike, and it's 1-1.
Well, a good pitch there. Bounced one in the dirt first pitch, and that one for a strike. You know, the difficult part when you're not a strikeout pitcher is somehow to come up with a sequence of pitches that's going to fool Victorino.
Two balls and a strike to Victorino. Placido Polanco on deck. A walk here would not be the end of the world. It would set up the double play possibility.
Well, also put in the go-ahead run on base, and a pretty good hitter behind him in Polanco.
Another curveball. Victorino fouls it off.
Victorino was sitting on the breaking ball, got it, but it was a little too up in the strike zone.
It was a hanger to rip.
So Hefner now in a spot where he needs a strikeout, and he's gotten to 2-2. Victorino is 6 of 10 this year, getting a runner in from third with less than 2 out. 2-2 from Hefner. He struck him out. High fastball got him to chase. A big second out for Jeremy Hefner.
What a great job by Hefner. I was talking about the sequence of pitches. No fastballs in that entire at bat till the very end. Fastball, the motion for it to be up in the strike zone by Nickias and executed by Hefner. As good as it gets, folks.
Good chasing.
So now 2 out. The tying run still at third, and now Polanco, who singled to right his last time up, 1 for 2 on the night. And he takes that cutter off the plate for ball 1. Phillies had a run in to make it 4-3, and they had Pence at third with nobody out. But Hefner got Wigginton on the ground ball to Davis, struck out Victorino, and now a chance to get through the inning with the lead. And Polanco hits one out to left field. Baxter planted in his tracks, and the side retired. What a job by Jeremy Hefner as he holds on to a 1-run lead. 4-3 New York in the middle of the 6th. Braves trying to snap that 8-game losing streak. Here the Mets with a 4-3 lead. Omar Quintanilla leads off in the home sixth. Quintanilla welcomed himself to town with an opposite field double and scored a run in the second. Took a call third strike in the fourth. Scott Hairston out on deck to bat for Jeremy Hefner, who did quite a job in that last half inning. And Quintanilla's got another base hit. Chased toward the line by Pence. Quintanilla takes the turn, trying for two. And Pence's throw well off line. Second double of the night for Omar Quintanilla.
Keep me in the big leagues. Nicely done here. In the 8th position in the order, got a fastball, ripped it right down the pipe, sets up the sacrifice now with Hefner.
Although they're sending Hairston up, so I doubt they'll be bunting. Well, Quintanilla, the knock on him was always he was a guy who could hit in the minors, couldn't hit in the big leagues. Lifetime .213 hitter in the majors.
You know what, though? It's nice to see the depth that you have in the minor leagues. You can bring a kid up, and I say kid. He's not a kid. He's a guy that's played, knows how to get the job done.
So Hefner is out of the game after 6 solid innings. He allows 3 runs and 6 hits. And now a chance for his first big league win. Scott Hairston pinch hitting, and he takes wide from Blanton, ball 1. Hairston started in center field last night and hit his 5th home run of the year, a 2-run shot off Cole Hamels.
I'll tell you what, with the rain so nearby and a game that may be shortened, but it's a lot coming up from the west. I might have been more inclined to let Hefner hit and bunt to sacrifice the runner over and play for that second run.
Yeah, right? Even if you're going to leave, even if you're going to take him out of the game.
Right. I mean, it's hard to play for the rain, but I mean, it's obvious that that it's coming. This is not a normal forecast.
2-0 to Hairston. And he bounces the changeup foul. There's your hospital for special surgery Mets box score. Omar Quintanilla with 2 doubles in his first game as a Met. Mike Baxter with a run scoring double. And Jeremy Hefner with his first big league hit. A home run, first by a Met pitcher in 2 years. Former Met Raul Valdez is up in the bullpen for the Phils. One of 4 left-handers the Phils are now carrying in their pen. And Hairston swings at the cutter and misses. 2-2. Baxter and Nieuwenhuis to follow behind Hairston. As the Mets look to tack on. Mets trailed 1-0, led 2-1. Phillies tied it. Mets grabbed the lead in the bottom of the second. Extended it 4-2 on Hefner's home run. Phillies shaved a run off the lead in the top of this inning. But Hefner with a runner at third, representing the tying run and nobody out, able to work out at the jam and keep the Mets in the lead. And that deserves a smoothie.
Maybe a milkshake.
3-2 to Hairston. And he drives one deep down the left field line, right toward the pole. That ball is out of here. Scott Hairston with another 2-run homer. This one is a pinch hitter, and it's 6-3 New York. 2-run homer last night against Hamels. 2-run homer tonight against Blanton. Scott Hairston with his 6th of the year. He's now the Mets' leading home run hitter.
And that's going to be all for Blanton. And so much for letting the pitcher hit and sacrificing.
This worked better. Just kept it fair down that left field line.
Boy, what a job this young man's done, huh?
It's a lot of power in that 9th spot tonight.
First pinch hit home run for Hairston this year, his 6th of the season. That'll knock Blanton out of the game. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Fios. Welcome to America's fastest, most consistent, most reliable internet. Welcome to Life on Fios. Former Met Raul Valdez on in relief of Joe Blanton as Mike Baxter takes a strike.
Well, Raul Valdez, you Mets fan, of course, will remember when he was in a Mets uniform. He's one of those guys that just goes right after you. No walks, 10 punch outs in 7 1/3. Quick start for the Phillies.
Baxter 1 for 2. He's also been hit by a pitch. He's driven in a run. He's scored a run. Scott Hairston with his 7th career pinch hit home run, 2nd pinch hit home run by a Met this year, and they both come against the Phillies. Jordani Valdespin hit the other one in Philadelphia. Mets 2 home runs in the game, so log on to sny.tv/Dwayne Reed to print out your coupon for $4 off Zyrtec, redeemable at any Dwayne Reed location.
That's a tough read, Gare.
Next time it's yours, baby. 2-2 to Baxter. And he lofts one out to shallow right. Pence coming on as the wind swirls it a bit. The wind is becoming more of a factor as the game goes along. So now Neuenhuis is 1 for 3 on the night. So Joe Blanton went 5 innings plus, allowed 6 runs and 9 hits. That's 3 straight very poor starts for Blanton, and they have been home run pocked. 8 home runs in those 3 games, and you see the Mets all of a sudden have been hitting home runs here at Citi Field with men on base, and Hairston has a lot to do with that. David Wright on deck. Last year Raul Valdez pitched for the Cardinals and for the Yankees. 38 games with the Mets in 2010. Remember the first time we saw Raul in spring training?
I did.
He was wearing, I think, number 96 with no name on his back. Nobody knew who he was. He was warming up in the bullpen. It's like, who is this guy?
He had the red glove.
Mets had picked him up on loan from a Mexican League team. Down the line and across the line, Pierre runs out of room. And, you know, Raul just got people out in spring training that year, and when the Mets needed a relief pitcher early in the season, there he was. And he was a mainstay 2 years ago.
I'll always remember his start. No, I shouldn't say start. He didn't have a start. In Washington, when John Mayne couldn't make it, Jerry Manuel went out and took him out after, just a few pitches. And Raul came in and pitched 5 strong innings.
He actually did make 1 start late in the season as a Met. Strike 3 called. He gets Neuenhuis looking. So that's the 2nd out of the inning. So Valdez has retired his first 2 hitters. Now he's got to contend with David Wright. David is 1 for 3 on the night, an RBI single back in the first. Bobby Parnell getting ready to pitch the 7th inning. It is an official game. The Mets have the lead. The rain is not far away.
It is extremely close.
Off the corner, ball 1.
By my calculations, it's raining in Newark right now.
Jeremy Hefner would be quite satisfied if a downpour came and washed away the rest of this game, which would guarantee him his first big league win. Wright rolls one on a check swing down to Wigginton, so Valdez gets his 3 hitters. But the Mets, before he came on, were able to expand their lead for Jeremy Hefner. Scott Hairston hitting for Hefner. Did what Hefner did in his prior at bat. Go deep. And the Mets lead 6-3 after 6. Max. Go to MLB.com/Pepsi Max to vote for your favorite legends for the chance to play ball with some of baseball's greats. Buy the all-new Mazda CX-5 with 35 highway miles per gallon. And by Verizon Wireless, win Mets memorabilia from Verizon at Mets.com/Verizon Sweeps. Bobby Parnell on to pitch the 7th inning. Freddie Galvis leads off for the Phillies with the Mets up 6-3. And Galvis thinking about a drag bunt. Ball 1.
Well, maybe a little easier than yesterday afternoon. Had to face Jimmy Rollins, who singled off him, who scored the go-ahead run in that inning on the Wigginton hit here against Galvis.
Parnell, the losing pitcher in that game yesterday. And Galvis takes it wide, and it's 2-0. Brian Schneider on deck, and then the pitcher's spot for the Phillies in the 7th. Jake Diekman up in the bullpen for the Phils. And that's driven to center. Nieuwenhuis measures it. 1 away. 3 times in a row Galvis has hit the ball to Nieuwenhuis. That's the first out of the 7th. So Galvis now 0 for 8 in this series, and Brian Schneider comes up. We're having a little bit of a dispute with the official scorer about Jeremy Hefner's stat line. In that 6th inning, the run scored on the error by Baxter in left field. Now, without the error, runners would have been at 2nd and 3rd and nobody out. He got the ground out from Wigginton with the runner holding, a strikeout of Victorino, and a fly ball from Polanco. So clearly it's an unearned run. But the official scorer, Jordan Spreckman, for some reason is calling that an earned run. And his explanation is that Pierre would have scored from 3rd, whereas Pence did not, because Pierre is faster.
Well, one, Pierre is not faster than Pence.
Schneider lifts another chance for Nieuwenhuis into center field.
And if he wants to be a scout, we'll get him a pair of Sanzabelt slacks and a radar gun.
Oh,
huh?
Drop the Sanzabelt on him.
Oh, jeez. Harsh. Oh, I have visions of the 70s.
Oh, I have visions of Rusty.
Pete Orr will bat for the pitcher Valdez as Diekman gets ready in the bullpen. Well, the fact of the matter is that if he tried to score, Davis would have thrown him out. So, you know, you can't really make that calculation. And it's not like he would have let him go either from where he was playing. There's a strike to Orr. So anyway, for the moment, Hefner has been charged with 3 earned runs, but hopefully the official scorer will change his mind and make it 2.
You might have hurt Hefner with that comment, by the way.
50-50. A ball and 2 strikes to Orr. I've left the earned run column blank, having faith in my fellow Columbia grad.
I put 2 in.
Big hop up for Davis. Orr retired. A 1-2-3 inning for Bobby Parnell. It is 7th inning stretch time at Citi Field. 6-3 New York. Phillies as we go to the bottom of the 7th.
Well, he has been dominant. I know he has that 6.75 ERA, but look at the Ks, the innings pitched so far for Mr. Diekman.
Diekman was one of those off-the-radar guys who just came out of nowhere this spring to impress the Phillies and pitched well in the minor leagues and got the call-up when the Phillies had to revamp their bullpen. Lucas Duda will lead off against them, then Daniel Murphy and Ike Davis, 3 left-hand hitters against Diekman. SNY Super Slow Motion, no water this time, is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Duda tonight is 0 for 2 in a walk. He's flied out and struck out.
He's been in a little bit of a funk lately. He hasn't been on track. I'd like to see Lucas just get more aggressive at the plate. Takes an awful lot of pitches.
0 for his last 13, and Diekman misses badly with that sweeping slider for ball 1. Well, the Phillies bullpen composition makes a lot of sense right now for the series that they're playing. The Mets are so loaded with key left-handed bats, and the Phillies now have 4 lefties in their bullpen. We saw Valdez in the 6th, and now Diekman pitching here in the 7th. They also have Joe Savory and Antonio Bastardo.
What makes this young man difficult on the left-handed hitters, he steps towards first base, throws across his body, and 95 miles an hour.
So you want a guy like this who's fastball, you can see his motion right here.
Pretty simple. Kind of clasps his arms around his knees, steps towards first, and kind of like a whip delivers that ball to the plate.
Because he throws across his body, he's going to have a fastball that runs in on left-hand hitters. So you have to pick either in or out of the plate.
And 95 miles an hour to take care of Duda. The question is, why was Diekman off the radar before this year?
Yeah, right. Well, I would think a guy like who's very big, tall, I would think control issues would probably be a problem.
From Wymore, Nebraska, was all set to go to the University of Nebraska. Phillies took him in the 30th round in 07, and he decided to sign rather than going to college. John Roush getting ready for the 8th inning. Daniel Murphy 1 for 3 tonight, and he slaps that one foul. Murphy slashed one the other way off Polanco's glove for a double his last time up.
Gary Diekman in Reading last season, 44 walks and 65 innings pitched. The year before, 23 walks and 32 innings pitched. So
that'll explain a lot.
Yeah, he's throwing strikes now.
And just well enough. So yeah. you think twice about it. Do I really want to stay in here and look that ball away? Do I really want to do that?
Now it's down toward first, a foul ball. Well, he's only been throwing from this arm angle for a couple of years. He had Bob Malachy, remember him?
Yeah.
He was a pitching coach in Lakewood down in A-ball. And he worked with him on dropping his arm angle with an eye toward, being a situational lefty, and it's paid off for him. He's come a long way in a short period of time. And he gets Murphy chasing the slider. So back-to-back strikeouts for Diekman as he adds to his impressive strikeout total.
He could be a little tough, a little left-handed specialist here.
6 innings now of work, 12 punch-outs.
That would be a record.
It would be, right?
They do that for the whole season. Here's Ike Davis, who drove in a run with a first-inning single, since then a strikeout and an intentional walk. So Ike is 1 for 2.
Ike's got to be, you got to be kidding me.
Well, say hello to John Candelaria, how you like them apples. Oh boy, big sweeping slider there. Ike looking in for a fastball, looked like. Why not take a chance?
The Fanny was not willing.
Oh, look at the step in the bucket.
That's what I meant.
Oh, another one.
Well, you know, Ike's been stepping in the bucket since he came up, and it's, you know, part of his thing. But this guy has him bailing. 2 balls and a strike. Wow. Well, it's pouring in Midtown right now.
Yep.
Still no rain here.
Be here shortly.
Hey, we've been saying that all night. It's the bottom of the 7th. Telling you, it arrives in the 10th.
Our luck has run out. Chief.
Here's the 2-1, and it's off the plate 3-1. Well, so far it missed us by that much. Now it's 3-1 to Ike, and he bounces one. Big hop for Galvis. And so Diekman comes in and sets the Mets down 1-2-3. On to the 8th we go. Roush set to pitch with the Mets up by 3. WHA of Washington Heights and Inwood expand their program with the SNY Play Ball Award. Now it's your turn. Help your youth baseball or softball league with a $5,000 grant. Apply for the SNY Play Ball Award presented by Citi at sny.tv/playball. Andres Torres comes in to play center field. He'll bat 9th. Kirk Neuenhuis moves over to right. Lucas Duda comes out, so the new pitcher John Roush will hit number 4 in the order.
Nice job by Bobby Parnell, and now John Roush in with this 3-run lead.
Roush worked an inning last night, allowed no runs and 1 hit. Facing the top of the batting order here in the 8th inning. Rollins led off the game with a double down the right field line and scored on a wild pitch. Mets were immediately down 1-0, but Jeremy Hefner persevered. Mets got him some runs, and now Hefner, if the bullpen can get him 6 more outs, is in line for his first big league win. Joe Savory had another lefty up in the Philly bullpen. And the Mets are now putting on a full infield shift against Jimmy Rollins. We've never seen this before.
Wow.
I'll tell you, Rollins has gotten off his game a little bit that he's pulling this much.
Yep.
That the Mets are employing this shift. Change up from Roush, and it's 2-2.
3-run lead, 2-2. You'd think you'd see a fastball here from Roush.
Hit toward the shift and through. So Rollins, with 3 infielders on the right side, finds space for his second hit of the night. Right now, let's go to the studio. Check with Chris Carlin for the Fujifilm game break. So Harvey continues his progress down in AAA. Here's Juan Pierre, and he takes off the plate.
Well, you see the defense right here and the shift, and he hits it perfectly. What can you do?
Little seam route.
Pierre 1 for 2 in a sacrifice tonight, and Roush throws a strike. Juan Pierre has done wonderfully against the Mets in their 8 games against each other this year. Hunter Pence on deck. Pierre now 9 for 18 against Met pitching this year, and he's 4 for 10 in his career against Roush. And he takes a letter high strike. 1-2.
Pierre has a really great idea of the strike zone. Think this is a strike, Keith?
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, it's not high. If anything, it had to be away if it wasn't a strike.
Now Roush ahead 1-2, and Pierre lays off 2-2. The Marlins just took the lead on the Nationals 2-1 on a Greg Dobbs sac fly in the bottom of the 7th. There it is.
Oh,
that's
are you in charge
Webby.
of the board?
That was Webby's doing.
Oh,
he arranged that. Time-lapse photography.
Very nice.
You almost got someone fired out there, Gare. They changed that real quick. They heard it.
They listen. Believe me, they pay attention to every word we say. For good reason. Now the 2-2, and Pierre takes just off the plate, and a full count. So a huge pitch coming up for Roush. If Pierre gets on, the Phillies get the tying run to the plate with Pence and Wigginton coming up. Mets bullpen is quiet behind Roush. And Pierre socks one out to left. Baxter playing shallow, positioned perfectly for the first down. So 1 out and 1 on. Rollins back to first. The rain begins to fall as we've been anticipating all night. Here's your AT&T trivia question. Which 3 Mets have led the National League in home runs in 50 years?
Well, we know 1.
Know a couple.
I know. No, maybe not. I know 1.
I think I know all 3. Here's Pence, who doubled in the 6th, and he's late on the fastball by Roush. 0-1. So the rain is falling. The question is, how hard is it going to fall and how fast? Antonio Bastardo joins Savory, the 2 lefties up in the bullpen. Pence is 1 for 5 against Roush. Ty Wigginton waiting on deck. Phillies 3 runs, 7 hits. Mets 6 runs, 9 hits. And the breaking ball in the dirt and stopped by Nickius. 1-1. Last night a rough night for the Mets bullpen, and it cost one pitcher his job. Manny Acosta designated for assignment today. The Mets recalling Chris Schwinded to help out in the bullpen.
How about
2-1.
That's one of the few high fastballs that Pence has laid off this series. He has been chasing that high fastball.
Slider is the pitch you have to watch out with Pence. That's a power pitch for him.
That was a slider to hit right there, and a lot of plate. Swung right through. Oh boy.
So now it's 2-2 to Hunter Pence. He fouls off the fastball. And that's been the Mets' MO with Pence, and they've done a pretty good job with him. He doubled his last time up, and he has just 6 for 31 against Met pitching this year. And the game plan has been to try and get him out with high fastballs. Rollins at first and 1 out. Nickius moves outside, and Pence fouls back that fastball.
Well, Pence is unorthodox, and the thing that makes him tough also, he's got some pop to right field. So it's not like you can just pitch him up and away.
Again, the 2-2. Breaking ball hit to center field, chasing Torres back, but he'll have room. 2 out. And back to first goes Rollins. So Roush gets a couple of fly ball outs from Pierre and Pence after Rollins' leadoff hit, and now it's left to Ty Wigginton. Wigginton 1 for 3 on the day after his huge night last night. Ball 1 to Wigginton. Roush gets a call in the corner, and it's 1-1. There goes Rollins, and Wigginton fouls it back.
I'll say one thing for Roush. Roush comes after you.
Yeah.
He'll throw strikes. He'll pound the strike zone. He is not afraid.
I think he's throwing a little harder tonight than we're accustomed to seeing. Generally, he's more in that 89 range. He's been 91, 92 with his fastball tonight. One-two to Wigginton. Bounce to third, a fair ball, long throw for David Wright, perfect to end the inning. A leadoff hit and one left. To the bottom of the 8th we go with the Mets up 6-3. More than an hour. We are set to resume. Mets leading the Phillies 6-3. About to start the bottom of the 8th, and lefty Joe Savory is in to pitch, the 4th Philadelphia pitcher of the game, to work to Mike Nickius. And so back underway. And the pitch to Nickius is taken for ball 1. Rain delay of an hour and 4 minutes. Frank Francisco getting ready for a save opportunity. Nickius, Quintanilla, and Torres due up for the Mets here in the bottom of the 8th. And Savory's pitch, a soft liner, one hop by Wigginton. An offbeat hop, but he stays with it for the 3-1 putout. First out in the bottom of the 8th. And now Omar Quintanilla, who's had himself quite a nice first game as a Met. 2 doubles and 3 trips, 1 to left center, 1 down the right field line, and he scored 2 runs. He's also looked sharp in the field, which you expect. He's known more as a defensive player. But Quintanilla called upon from the minor leagues today when Justin Turner went on the disabled list, filling in at shortstop and off to a flying start as a Met. The first Met in history whose last name begins with the letter Q. The first.
Wow.
In fact, there have now been Mets representing 25 of the 26 letters of the alphabet. Only X is waiting. Now, they've had players with the first name X.
Xavier Nady doesn't count.
But not the last. 0-2 to Quintanilla. Omar Quintanilla, born and raised in El Paso. Went to the University of Texas. And he takes off the plate 1-2. Well, they dump the tarp. The water goes onto the outfield, and it gets absorbed quickly, and with that great drainage system. And you see the outline of the infield on the bottom of the tarp after they roll it over.
The Shroud of City.
There you go. Very nice. Well, the Mets have gotten 2 home runs out of the number 9 spot of the batting order today. Andres Torres will get a crack at that as he bats for the first time here in the bottom of the 8th. Mets trailed 1-0, led 2-1. Phillies tied it in the top of the 2nd. Mets went in front of the bottom of the 2nd and then added a run in the 4th as that guy, Jeremy Hefner, hit a home run for his first big league hit. And he's in line for his first big league win as well. So a very interested spectator here in the bottom of the 8th. 2-2 from Joe Savory, and the breaking ball line to center, and Quintanilla has his 3rd hit of the night. What a way to start your Mets career and try to resurrect your big league career. So Terry Collins with that to chew on, watching Quintanilla tonight.
Well, like we said in the top of the show, he was just brought up here as just a stopgap, and really all they expected was him just to fill the role defensively, and here he comes out with 3 hits.
That's how Gehrig started.
That's right. That's right.
Pip has a headache. Go play first base today, Lou.
I got it, Skip.
Here's Torres with Quintanilla at first. Oh, Andres Torres came in for defense in the top of the 8th inning. Batting in the number 9 spot in the batting order with Mike Baxter on deck. Joe Savory, who began last year as a first baseman designated hitter in the Phillies organization, and by the end of the season was pitching in the big leagues.
This is 3rd tour with the Phillies already this season.
And Torres takes a fast strike, and it's 0-2.
He was given the call when Vance Worley went on the DL this time.
Already tonight in the National League East, the Braves have won. The Marlins have beaten the Nationals. So if the Mets win tonight with Washington losing, the Mets would be only a game and a half out of first place.
Tied with the Marlins, right?
How about that?
By the way, the 3 hits for Quintanilla tonight match his career high. Omar had just over 500 at bats in the major leagues coming into the night. Only played briefly for the Texas Rangers last year, not a part of their postseason roster. And Torres bounces one foul.
And really only had one opportunity to play. I'm not saying Torres, I'm talking about Quintanilla, playing every day, and that was back in 08. where he had in 81 games, he had 210 at bats.
Now the 1-2 from Savory, and Torres lays off the breaking ball. It's 2-2. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night after the postgame show, Giants news, Devils getting ready for the Stanley Cup Finals, and a shocker in Paris. Geico Sports Night tonight after the postgame. Bouncer toward third. Polanco to Galvis and on to first. Not in time. Torres beats out the relay and keeps the inning alive. 5-4 force erases Quintanilla for the second out.
Well, not hit hard enough. Good throw, good feed, but not much on the throw from Galvis. Good hard slide by Quintanilla.
And Torres able to beat the rapid first.
And this prevents Galvis from pulls a little Olay there.
Yeah, Terry Collins had a long conversation with Wally Backman last night talking about Quintanilla, and Wally had great praise for Quintanilla. He said he does everything you want defensively as a shortstop. He's probably our best second baseman too. But tonight with the offense.
Here's Mike Baxter, and he takes a strike. Well, we saw Quintanilla during spring training. We didn't see him much on our telecasts because in spring training we only do the home games, and Quintanilla was one of those guys who made every road trip. Right, the non-roster guy. He got to play a lot in the enemy ballparks. Baxter swings at the fastball and misses. Baxter had a big hit in this game back in the second that put the Mets in front to stay, at least for now. A double that drove in the go-ahead run, put the Mets up 3-2. 1 for 3 on the night. And it was a hustle double for Mike.
Well, curveball ripped up the middle and never hesitated. And the one thing about Baxter, he's deceptively fast. He can run.
Strike 3 called, so Baxter's out on strikes. Savory turns in a scoreless inning, and we go to the ninth. Francisco trying to save a 6-3 Met lead. Changes for the Mets as we go to the ninth. Vinny Rotino will come into play left field in a double switch. He'll hit number 4 in the order, and the pitcher Frank Francisco will go in the 1 spot as he looks for his 14th save of the year.
Well, his last 4 appearances have been perfect, and all have been saves as he has gotten to the 13 mark. 13 out of 15 chances.
It all started in that game in Toronto. 1-run lead, 2 men on base, and all of a sudden he kicked it into gear, and he hasn't allowed a base runner since. Shane Victorino leads off in the top of the ninth. Victorino 0 for 3 today, and he takes a fastball for a strike from Francisco. Francisco trying to save it for Jeremy Hefner, who's in line for his first major league win. Bobby Parnell and John Roush each turned in a scoreless inning of relief. And there's a strike with a splitter, and it's 0-2 to Victorino. Placido Polanco on deck, then Freddie Galvis in the ninth. Mets trying to make it 6 wins and 8 tries against the Phillies this year. And Victorino tries to hold, and he stopped it in time. Chris Conroy with the call, 1-2. Well, hasn't it been the Mets' way this year as you look at that last half swing by Victorino?
I think he held it up. I do too.
Hasn't it been the Mets' way? Guys who are not even on the radar helping this team win. Tonight, Quintanilla and Hefner front and center. Fly ball out to left. Rotino just into the game. Has it. 1 out.
And I think it also says a lot about Wally Backman and his staff in AAA that the guys who have come here have been ready to go. You know, a lot of times you get information and it's not the right information. And the players that have come up, for the most part, are at the top of their game.
Here's Placido Polanco. And Terry Collins was asked for the umpteenth time tonight about how you play with so many injuries. And he said, you know what? When I was with the Angels and we had all sorts of people hurt, I kind of felt sorry for myself. And I said, I realized that I can't project that at all because your team picks up on that.
You're like, boy, manager thinks we're done. I guess we're done.
Now his attitude is, hey, whoever we got, you go out, you produce, show that you belong in the big leagues. And Quintanilla and Hefner have both done that tonight. Line right center field. That's a base hit for Polanco. So after Francisco had retired 13 straight batters, he finally gives up a hit.
And Terry Collins said something that I've not heard since I've been here on the television. He said, you know what? When you wear a Met uniform, expect you to play a certain way. That was pretty cool to hear.
Well, it's one of the things that has been central to the minds of the baseball side of this organization over the last year and a half. And things have changed. 1 out and 1 on. Here's Freddie Galvis, who's hit the ball to center field 3 times in a row tonight. 0 for 8 in this series. The Phillies need 1 more base runner to get the tying run to the plate here in the ninth. Ryan Schneider, who's already homered tonight, is waiting on deck. And Galvis fouls it back, a splitter from Francisco, and it's 0-2. Boy, and Frank is coming right at people.
He is, and Galvis, who's coming here red hot, is just really stepping in the bucket. He's halfway over to Flushing Bay with his front foot and his stride.
Now the 0-2, and he fouls that one away. Well, we were talking about Terry's comments before the game about how you handle it with injured players. Here's what he said.
That's what we said in the first day of spring training. There's expectations here. I don't care where you start, but when you put the Mets uniform on, there's things that we expect. And fortunately, the guys that have been here so far have done that and believe in those things.
Francisco bounces the splitter.
I also think the manager demands it from his players. The players like Terry. They like playing for him. They respect him. And, that's not asking too much, Ron?
Making a lot of donuts, aren't you? I mean, the least you can do is do it.
And you're talking about a lot of different guys. Quintanilla tonight became the 27th different player to start a game for the Mets this year. It's 1 less than the league lead. Curveball from Francisco backs Galvis away, and it's 2-2.
And other than Valdespin, everyone's been needed when they've been called up, inserted right into the lineup. Go get the signs from Tough and be ready to go.
But even Valdespin contributed.
Yeah. Oh.
Hit the 3-run homer off Papelbon to win a game. Now the 2-2. Strike 3 call. Well, fastball at the knees, 2 out.
Anything close, better be swinging.
And that might have been low, but it's borderline, too close to take, and that's a ring.
So the Phillies are down to their final out. Brian Schneider coming up. Schneider homered back in the second inning up in the Pepsi porch, his second of the year. Since then he's flied out twice. Runner takes off. Defensive indifference moves Polanco to second base. Final game of the series tomorrow night. Dylan G against Cliff Lee. 6:30 the coverage right here on SNY. Mike Fontenot has come out on deck to pinch hit if Schneider can keep the game alive. And Schneider lays off the splitter. It's 1-1. Mets have the full infield shift on against Schneider. There's Fontenot, the former Cub and Giant, waiting on deck. One and one to Schneider. And Polanco takes off for third, and more indifference allows him to arrive safely there. Double indifference.
That's really indifferent.
You've heard of double indemnity? Double indifference. Now it's 2-1 to Schneider. And he pops it up foul. That'll come back and out of play. And now the Phillies are down to their final strike. Fouled away. 95 from Frank Francisco.
I like that he's using his fastball more. And he's become more of a fastball split finger guy. You don't see the breaking ball too much from Frank.
He's throwing one curveball in this inning. Again, the 2-2 to Schneider. Just missed. Francisco was all set to walk off and shake hands.
Missed, just missed.
Nicky has brought it back in.
So now it's 3-2. Strike three called, and the ball game is over. Francisco with back-to-back strikeouts to end it. Jeremy Hefner has his first big league win, and he hits a home run to boot. Omar Quintanilla, 3 hits in his debut as a Met, and the Mets have evened up the series with the Phillies in a game apiece.
Well, congratulations to Quintanilla with his 3 hits, Jeremy Hefner with his first win in the major leagues, and now with Mike Baxter leading off, Mets are 5-0.
Well, I tell you what, the bottom half of the order, the 8 and 9 hole, Quintanilla 3 for 4 with 2 runs scored, 2 doubles. You have Hefner with his first home run, and in that 6th inning, leadoff double by Quintanilla. He thought that maybe Terry Collins might leave Hefner in to bunt. He pinch hits with Harrison. Harrison hits a 2-run home run, his 6th.
There's your City game summary. Hefner gets his first major league victory and becomes the first Met in 2 years, Met pitcher, to hit a home run. Hairston homers for his 3rd straight game as a pinch hitter. And the Mets win at 6-3. We'll be right back to Citi Field.